So yes, here we are again, part 2. May the 3rd, today, 2022. And if you had a chance, watch the recording before this one first, as they are tying into each other. I just wanted to cut it in two, so it's not getting too long. So on May the 5th, 5 in itself is a power number. Cinco de Mayo, many of you probably know, this is a revolutionary day, has its origin, I guess, in Mexico. So the number 5 in itself is the most dynamic of all numbers, and then if it comes in double, it's usually very intense, fast, furious, high-strung, very adventurous too. So in itself, this is a powerful number. And then naturally the 222 here in the year number, we all know that this is a year of extreme polarization, bringing it into the number 6, which is the year number, which is the perfect balance of the yin and the yang, the triangle down and the triangle up, which makes then the star tetrahedron coming into a perfect balance. So rhythm is the name of the game. Falling in rhythm, falling in sync with your inner dynamics, learning to listen to your own voice and standing up for yourself. That's all which matters this year. All the power structure we still see, and we still see them in place, they're all just silhouettes at this point. They have no real power anymore. They're hollow, they're empty. They have no way of really cracking down on us anymore. Yes, they try, they do it, but this is only short-lived. This is at the very tail end. I mean, everybody knows, for example, that Macron in France cheated. I guess it's too obvious. I showed you the charts in a couple videos earlier. I didn't go too deep, but it clearly showed that Le Pen was the winner. Regardless, she's definitely not the president right now, but this time will tell. And this might be overturned within a few months. That's my guess. Latest by October, November, we will have a global revolution. It will probably get into high gear in August. As I say, it's steadily building. The heat is on. So why is this chart so interesting? Again, look at the overhead degree over the 0 meridian in that moment, 129. Pisces, and this is what this latest solar flare looked like in Kiev. There's some synchronicity there. Yes, and there's much more than that. Look at the ascendant here of that Sun-Uranus conjunction. This is the descendant 546. And now, first I want to show you this chart. That is when Jupiter will ingress the sign of Aries. This is a really big moment again of new beginnings. And what do we have here? Exactly these same degrees. So that's how things are interlinked, how different moments in time are locking into each other and building a structure, a powerful structure, which is holding a framework in place, which allows us then to build on top, literally. Now look at this chart. This is the chart I had come up with You can go back to my earlier recording, and pretty much at the onset of this conflict, when I was putting quite some energy into rectifying the chart of the Ukraine, this is what I came up with. And to my own surprise, this 555 Capricorn here degree, and I showed you in other videos, that was the moment when in Greenwich the Chinese New Year began. We had this degree rising, and again now when Jupiter is entering Aries, we have that same degree at the Greenwich location. And as I showed you, this was also that degree of this solar eclipse. No, not the solar eclipse, of Sun and Uranus conjunction. I cannot do two things at once. I cannot multitask, sorry. But here we are. So you see, it's all interconnected. And now let's keep going. What else I have lined up here for you? This we looked at. Interesting here. Yes, the moon here at the 4th house cusp. The moon is the people in a mundane chart. So I'm expecting, and actually we already see it happening if you listen to the right sources, to those who are not painting a situation of upon their wishes, but which really show real reporting. You have to search for it a little bit, but it's all available on the net. The oval circle is a really good site, as RT has been banned, which is really great journalism overall they have been doing over the last few years. So anyway, what I want to say is the people in the Ukraine are the ones who really will bring the change at first. I mean, we already see it happening. Whole battalions of the Ukrainian army are surrendering. I mean, it's obvious. Russia's mission really is a liberation from these dark forces, the Nazis and the fascists. And it's meanwhile, I mean, it's documented on so many levels. I mean, you can't overlook it anymore. It's just right in your face. Look at this, for example. This was, let me just find it. Okay, just give me a sec. Right, yes, this was 2 days ago. Canadian General Trevor Kadir was arrested while trying to escape from Azovstal and taken to Moscow to stand trial. He was in charge of Biolab number 1, where 18 people worked with deadly viruses. Okay, he's been captured. This will be a public trial. They cannot really ignore that. And I mean, there's all the information out. In 2018, Canada had meetings with Ukraine's self-professed Nazi paramilitary. This is all documented. This guy here has done a little YouTube on it, and shows you all the sources. Canadian diplomats and soldiers met with Ukrainian fascist paramilitary in 2018. It's all out. It cannot be denied anymore. I mean, we know the US has paid for the color revolution together with George Soros in 2014, overthrowing a legally elected government. Yanuchenko, he was just pushed out of the picture, replaced by a brought-in puppet. And since then we had this glooming situation of an extreme suppression of all the Russian speaking inhabitants of the Ukraine. If you go and listen to all these independent journalists who have been talking about that, you learn a lot. So basically the Ukrainians, at least all the ones in the eastern part, are happy that Russia finally came and is liberating them. And this is what is truly the situation there now. Over the next 2 weeks, I'm forecasting there will be huge changes happening in the Ukraine as more and more people are standing up, and as these Nazis are now circled in, they cannot escape anymore. The siege is closing in, has already closed in. All these weapons deliveries by the Western nations, they get destroyed right when they arrive, because it's all in the open. Russia is controlling the whole airspace. There's no such thing as a Ukrainian air force. It's so obvious if you follow the right trail of information. That's where it's leading to. And I predicted it already in March that we would start seeing the end of this conflict with this solar eclipse, with this latest solar eclipse. And again, you see that was the right, the 10th degree here. You see that's where the eclipse occurred, 10th degree Taurus. And if you go back to look at this chart here of the Ukrainian nation, of their independence, that is the 10th degree here. That's where the solar eclipse happened, right at the foundation. So this eclipse is changing everything we heard and knew about the Ukraine. This will bring it all into the public now. And the Jupiter ingress into Aries, Jupiter here at 0 degrees Aries. This is again the Greenwich global chart. You see that same degree. So it is kind of, we're in this final phase before things start breaking fully open. It's a preparation phase, these last days with Jupiter in Pisces. And actually, you see this, Jupiter turns direct 11:22 a.m. on the 10th, and just an hour or so earlier, let me get that straight. Okay, let me get that straight. 11:47. So Mercury. Okay, it's 12 hours. Okay, sorry, I was just confused for a second. So it's 11:22 p.m. when Jupiter enters Aries in universal time, and 11:47 a.m. that's a little less than 12 hours earlier when Mercury turns direct. Again, these two events are strongly correlated. And when Mercury turns direct, retrograde, when it goes into that phase coming in between Earth and the Sun, where its culmination will be the 21st with the inferior conjunction. So this whole Mercury retrograde phase is having the Sun-Uranus energy here at the top of the chart. This shows an extreme potential of unexpected, surprising changes, opening of new doors. And as I say, we have also this Venus-Mars conjunction heliocentrically on the 17th, and then Saturn and Mars on the 25th, also heliocentrically making a conjunction. I mentioned that already in my last recording. So all this points towards a big breakthrough we will see this month. I predicted already last recording that I see around June the 7th that the whole Ukrainian situation will resolve itself in a very nice and positive way, opening doors for all kinds of additional breakthroughs. Ukraine will have to make all the concessions asked. There's no question on that. If time comes, I will show you why I'm so sure about that. There's lots of Neptunian energy involved. For example, you see Neptune here in our present time is around 25 degrees Pisces, and just have a quick peek here at the Ukraine chart, which I came up here, and we have this militaristic axis of Mars and Astrea in Virgo opposing TX 300 here. This is, in my opinion, that quite dark energy which is there to be tamed in a way. I guess that's the best way of saying it. Also, if there's Uranus, Black Moon, Neptune here in the first house, it shows a difficult karma they have taken on collectively as a nation in this present situation. But what I want to say is Neptune here, Neptune opposing Mars, yes, this is the sign of defeat. It's just that the air is let out, it's deflated, it's brought back to a place where it can surrender, where it can truly go through a metamorphosis of expressing itself in a new way. Neptune in this configuration is a huge chance. Also, Neptune is in a quincunx, in a 150 degree angle here to Jupiter and Mercury, which is another sign of the whole negotiations of having to accept the conditions given. That's what it will come down to in favor of the people of the Ukraine. It's really a reversal of what happened in 2014. That's what we will see happening in the bigger scale. And as now the gas is turned off for those countries who are not ready to pay in rubles, and the ruble has meanwhile surpassed its value from before the conflict. It had plummeted right away, naturally, when the Russian invasion started. But since the ruble is now practically gold-backed, the ruble has increased in value and is now at a better rate than it was before the conflict against the euro and against the dollar both. And this is huge. And my prediction is that very soon we will see a much greater dynamics in these currency values against each other. So the ruble will add on in value, and all the Western currencies will break down. I mean, they have pretty much set themselves up with all this extreme inflation, which will ask for higher interest rates, which will push the whole housing market into deep trouble, which will, I mean, it's a chain reaction we still see happening, and this still can be reverted to some degree. However, it's intentionally set up that way. It is intentionally set up that way as all these dark forces, they know they are on their way out, and they want just to wreak as much havoc as possible before they close the door, before they're fully out. They are truly evil, and the more we see that, the more we stand in our power and say no, and that's really what matters. So I'm extremely optimistic. I know it's a difficult phase, but we will get through it and get to a better place soon. Just hold the ground, be strong, and keep saying no to what's wrong. Thanks for joining and listening, and talk to you soon.